skeptical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL network.
Yes, welcome on in, everybody, to the Saturday Night Network for the final season 48 podcast of Saturday Night Live. My name is Jon Schneider from the SNN. Very excited to be with you on this Monday night to close the book on what was an amazing season of SNL. We've had so much fun along the way, going all the way back to September of last year, breaking down the 18 episodes, unfortunately not 21, but 18 episodes of the show this season. And we've done that with some amazing panelists, so many great voices throughout the season who have come on and contributed to our shows, including one of them tonight, and that is Andrew Haynes. Haynes, how are you?
I'm awesome, man. So glad to be back. You know, it was pretty rough little breakup with the season, but it's just good to be back talking SNL, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for good reason, but a little bit of a buzzkill. I mean, I was
Right.
so excited for to get all you back in May and really break down the season in the way that it was meant to. But anyways, it is what it is. We've had a lot of fun. So in case you missed our postseason coverage or any of it, first up, we had our postseason roundtable. That was a lot of fun. We went through all of our favorite sketches from each aspect of the show. Then we had our postseason by the number show with Mike Murray and Bill Kenny. And that was, I mean, if you like stats, you cannot find more interesting details about every single cast member. So make sure to check that one out. And then tonight, we're doing something really special. It's honestly one of my favorite podcasts that we do all year long, and that's our patron feedback shows. So if you don't know what that is, we have a group of people who are paid subscribers to the podcast. They help support us and continue to make the Saturday Night Network as great as we could possibly be. And it's all thanks to them for contributing all season long. And part of the privileges of becoming a patron is you get to podcast with us. Yes, that is right. You get to come on the podcast with us and talk to us throughout the season and give your thoughts on the show. So we have patrons who have signed up all night tonight to come on for the next couple of hours to call in and give their thoughts on the show. We also have some questions that were sent in from the SNL community that we are going to answer tonight. So I'm looking forward to doing all of that. Haynes, I'm looking forward to having you meet some of our patrons too, many of whom listen to you on a regular basis. So
Excited.
Yeah, it's great. So Haynes, we never really got your end of season thoughts on season 48. So why don't you give it to us? What are you thinking?
Well, I thought that Quinta Brunson was one of the best episodes of the year. That was a really fantastic episode. We had some good ones coming down the stretch. That was probably the best. I mean, overall, I thought it was a really fun, exciting season. It obviously felt very fresh with some of the things they were doing early on in the year in particular. And it just felt like a newer SNL than SNL had felt, in quite a while with all the cast turnover. And I love that. I hated seeing so many people that we've loved for so long depart the show, but it's an exciting new time. Pretty rough on me for our little betting game where cast members are tallying points to lose Cecily mid-season. But it is what it is. When she was there, she was obviously, paying the bills for my team. So listen, it was a really fun and exciting new season. It just felt really fresh, and I just hate. Obviously, goes without saying, hate the way that it ended. But I think that it leaves the door open for some interesting possibilities moving into, a presumable season 49. I'm assuming that the show will recover from this and not be done permanently, of course.
Don't even speak that into existence.
I know. I know. So it leaves the door open for some fun things in season 49.
Yeah, well, definitely. Okay, SNL's coming back one day. I just don't know.
Yeah,
when, I know. But they'll come back. I mean, right now, everything is set to come back at the end of September. I think it's the last day of September would probably be the premiere date that we're looking at. But of course, if the writer's strike was to continue, then that would be delayed a little bit further. But Haynes, I'm so curious, you've been with us since the very beginning, covering 46, 47, and 48. Was this your favorite season to talk about the show as well?
Gosh, I mean, maybe it just felt so fresh and new. And listen, we had some great. I love comedians, obviously, and we had some great, comedians come on really at the beginning of the season. Not all of those turned out to be the best episodes, but it was a fun season to talk about. I just love what some of the new cast members have been doing, and I wish we got to see more of them, but that's the way the show works. We'll hopefully see more of them next year. I hope that, we don't lose anyone over the summer. I feel like it would be weird if people jump the ship, having a season cut short, but this might have been my favorite season to talk about. It just felt really exciting. And from the very get-go, those first few episodes just felt like a whole new era of SNL. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm excited every week for SNL, but this was a year that I was really excited to see, what new territory are we going to go into? Which new cast member are we going to get to learn a little bit more about? So yeah, maybe it was.
So I have some fun exercises for us tonight to fill in some of the time between our patrons calling in. And then also we have our questions, which we will get to from all of you. So thanks to everybody who filled out the form to send in those questions. But I want to start with something that has always been a fun part of our patron shows, which is our friend Brennan Keller, who's one of the moderators of the subreddits, or a very active part of the Live from New York subreddit, which is originally how I met you, Haynes, in the first place.
Right.
People don't know that. You actually contacted me on Reddit before we kicked this whole thing off. And he does this sketch sorting Sunday. It's a great thread where people can talk about their favorite moments from the episode. And Brendan wasn't able to join us on the show tonight, but he actually, sent me the results from this season's, full analysis of the best moments of each part of the season. So I think it'd be fun if I quiz you a little bit on what you think some of the results are. So let me start with, what do you think the Reddit fans voted as the best episode on average this season?
The best episode on average. Well, I mean, let me think about this for a second.
So 18 episodes, a lot to think about. But
yep,
which
lot
one was
to think
the favorite?
About. Well, on Reddit, I feel like we're getting the real core fans, and
Really?
some of these. I mean, somewhat. I just think that it's. Well, I have no idea. Maybe we don't have real fans on Reddit, but I know that as far as popularity, I'm going to guess like Pedro Pascal was ranked really highly. To me, I think
nailed that one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, but what do you think? What else do you think besides that? Yeah.
Well, I just for me personally, I don't know how you could deny how good the Quinta Brunson episode was, but I would think that a lot of fans would say Pedro Pascal. So.
All right. Well, I mean, as you said, Haynes, the Reddit fans are the true fans of SNL, and they voted Pedro Pascal as the best episode of the season, followed by Aubrey Plaza and then Jenna Ortega.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about best cold open of the season from Reddit? What do you think that was?
Ooh, best cold open of the season. Oh my gosh. You're really putting me on the spot here.
If you think of name any you think of, let me know. All right, how about I give you three? Let me give you the top three. You guess. You tell me which one was the favorite. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Does that work for you? Is that a better game?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Miles Teller's Manning Cast, Pedro Pascal's Spy Balloon, or Anna de Armas's Spring Day.
Manning Cast.
Yeah, you nailed that one. Yes, those were actually the top three in order. Just wanted to see if you got that. But yes, Manning Cast number 1, Spy Balloon, Pascal 2, Spring Day, Anna de Armas 3. Really interesting. So like uniquely formatted ones. So I guess Spy Balloon was somewhat, but still. All right, top 3 monologues. Tell me which one was the number 1. Pedro Pascal, Aubrey Plaza, the Martins.
Oof, man. I mean, the Martins was very fun, but I am gonna say Aubrey Plaza.
All right, Plaza was in 3rd, Pedro Pascal in 2nd, and Steve and Marty in 1st.
Well, Steve and Marty might have been my favorite.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go here. Top 4 sketches from the season, live sketches. Tell me which ones were the top ones from Reddit. Okay, we got Lisa from Temecula. I guess the first one. Blue Christmas, Cecily's Goodbye. We got American Girl Cafe from Travis Kelce. And then Taboo from Aubrey Plaza's episode.
Gosh, I mean, Lisa from Temecula is just such a smash. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, you smashed it. All right. Lisa from Temecula was the number one. Blue Christmas, Cecily's Goodbye, number two. Taboo, I still don't get this one, but all right, number three there. From Aubrey Plaza. I think everything was better from that episode, besides that sketch. But then American Girl Cafe, Travis Kelce, was number four. Okay. Best pre-tape of the season. Tell me, was it Waffle House, Mario Kart, State Farm, or Straight Male Friend from Travis Kelce?
The production value was so high on Mario Kart. I wouldn't be surprised if people said that. But I'm going to say Straight Male Friend.
Okay. All right. Straight Male Friend. That is actually fourth. Waffle House is third.
Waffle House is one. Okay.
Yeah, it's third. State Farm is second. And then Mario Kart is.
Oh, Mario Kart was one. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. All right. We have update features, musical guest, and then some of the worst, which we'll go over in just a little bit. But for now, I do want to bring in our first patron of the night to get to talk to them. So, Haynes, let me know if you are ready for me to bring in our first patron.
I'm ready. I'm excited to see who it is.
All right, let's do it. Let me bring in our friend Ian. So, hey, Ian, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can. So nice to meet you. I've never met you before.
No, yeah, it's nice to meet you too. It's nice to be on. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, have you enjoyed the podcast this season, first off?
Yeah, I have. I think this is actually I think I was introduced this season anyways, but I went back and
Well, such a pleasure to get to talk to you. So happy to have you on. So tell me, what are your thoughts right now? How are you feeling? Season 48 is in the rearview mirror. Looking forward to 49. Any overall thoughts that you would like to share with us and our listeners?
Well, I really enjoyed the season. I was just giving myself a refresh, trying to catch up, watch them all in time, but I didn't. But I got through most of them. But I forgot how good it was. After rewatching them all again just in the last couple of days, I was like, oh, there's a lot of things I really enjoyed from this season.
That is such dedication. So you watched all 18 episodes over again for this podcast?
Not all 18. I only got up to the Michael B. Jordan episode.
Okay. So tell me, are there things from these episodes that maybe we missed and then on the second watch, now that you're going back, that you're like, oh, I forgot that this was so good?
Yeah, actually, I did. Trying to think of which one, some of that. I really enjoyed the Jets fans sketch from the Amy Schumer episode on the rewatch. That made me laugh a lot. And that was one that I was like, I don't know if I like this on the first take.
You know what's interesting about that? I think that was like a Mikey Day sketch and this was before we realized that Mikey was going to be peak Mikey this season. And I think like in retrospect, like Haynes, don't you agree? Like everything Mikey did this season is like, we're all like, it all has a clean slate right now because he was able to hit homers all season long.
All season long. It was the season of Mikey in many ways.
I also agree with that.
What else, Ian?
Oh man, I was trying to like take notes to be prepared, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much.
I loved the brutality of that Jet sketch. By the way, like something about like people being that mean to each other. Like it almost makes me feel. It at least reminds you that like we're not supposed to be that mean to each other. Like all those times that I was made fun of growing up, the brutality of that sketch kind of like being able to laugh about it relieves a little bit of that trauma. I enjoyed it.
Definitely. When she dumped JAJ was just so uncalled for, but so funny at the same time.
So any other notes you have for us, Ian?
Well, it was hard to go back because I still get like emotional watching Cecily's goodbye.
Okay.
But I still think just even though she had such a short period on the show, she still stood out so much. I think just that she was only like 5 episodes this season, or not 5 episodes.
She was back for 6, but she didn't really appear in the Chappelle episode. She just did the cold open that week. I think she was like not that down to be a part of whatever was happening that week. But were you a big Cecily fan? Like she connected with you a lot, Ian?
Yeah. One of my favorites of all time. Like her drunk girl you wish you didn't start a conversation with was one of my all-time favorite characters. And I just, she's just great. Her and my mom, me and my mom bond over is just like how great Cecily was and is, Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can get it to see her back sometime soon because maybe we'll, maybe not for 49, but I'm sure in 50 that we will see Cecily Strong again.
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, how long was it before they rescheduled Pete?
Yes, that's true. All All right. Well, why don't we continue with taking a few questions from our patrons because, from our listeners, because the listeners sent in so many this week. So, Ian, if you don't mind, I'd love to get your thoughts on some of the questions that the listeners sent in, and we'll have Haynes answer as well. Cool with that?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's start with this question from our friend on Twitter. Kylie sent in this question. So you mentioned, the Pete episode, Haynes, but Kylie wants to know, hi, do you expect to see the 3 hosts scheduled for the May shows make a return next season? Strike depending, of course, of when next season is. And who are your predictions for who will be up next for hosting? So let's take that first part of the question. Haynes, I'll start with you. Do you think we're going to get Pete and Kieran Culkin and Jennifer Coolidge sometime in 49?
I would love to have all 3 of them back. And I think it's pretty typical that when there is, when someone's supposed to be on and then there's some sort of issue that changes that, I think we typically do get that person just a little bit further down the line. They find a way to get them back in. Only because it's 3 of them. I wonder if, there could be another scheduling conflict and maybe we only get 2 of the 3, or maybe and then someone misses, the moment. So, they're not having movies and TV shows coming out and, next year or something. And then all of a sudden, we don't ever see this person again, or we see him 10 years down the line. I think Jennifer Coolidge, listen, I'm excited about all of them. I'm seeing Pete Davidson's stand-up next week in Raleigh, and he's here for 4 nights. And there's not that much to do. Not that much to do in Raleigh, so I'm hoping to run into him somewhere.
Yeah, hopefully it's not like, I don't know if you saw that episode of Bupkis where he goes up to Canada and he's by himself. I
only watched the first episode, and then I've had other stuff going on. I haven't got to go back and watch it. But I would expect that. Yeah, we would have these folks back. I mean, Succession's over now, so maybe Kieran Culkin is the most likely to not return of those 3. But I would expect that we would at least get Pete and Jennifer Coolidge back. That's just my thoughts.
Ian, what do you think?
I think I agree with that. I would like to see them all. Do they know how? Can I actually ask a question before I answer? Because I was curious about that. How early do you know they know who's going to host? Like, do they know that? Did they know Jennifer Coolidge was going to be the finale early on in the series, or is she booked later on?
Well, the truth to this question is that every situation is actually different. So when it comes to certain people that, perhaps Lorne specifically, or Lorne and the, inner circle really want to host the show, there may be a personal ask that happens months and months in advance. I know Pete Davidson actually talked about on Fallon that he was scheduled for months to host that specific day. But for somebody like Jennifer Coolidge, it may have been something that, came together at the last minute. I know that they were talking about having Margot Robbie host the finale at some point. So because of that, that leads me to think that they were, putting feelers out to a few different people and ultimately came to the conclusion they were able to get Jennifer Coolidge for the finale. Just a guess, my assumption is they probably knew sometime, between the March and April run who was going to be hosting in May.
Okay. Because I feel like I felt like there was teasers throughout the season because I was seeing, Jennifer Coolidge's name in the sketch about her, and Kieran showed up as a cameo. So I was like, are these teasers or something? But
well, the answer to that, though, I think the Kieran Culkin thing is a great. By the way, I completely forgot about that Kieran Culkin was just a cameo in the season as well. When I didn't even come up the last few weeks. But I think what happens is when somebody gets along well with people at the show and then they're considered a friend of the show, it's much easier to bring them back, a la Kieran Culkin, who obviously left a good impression at the end after his performance. And then they brought him back for cameo. And then it's like, okay, well, he's on the biggest show in the world right now. Let's bring him back.
That makes sense. And I think with that being said, I'm hoping that we are able to see all of them if they're, friends of the show. And Pete definitely is because of his relationship with Lauren, I'm assuming. But yeah, I would definitely hope. But I feel like Pete and Jennifer are also just more likely to do it, even though Succession was so big. But we'll see. Hopefully the writer's strike ends in their favor in time for that.
Yeah. And then, the second part of this question from Kylie was, who are your predictions for future hosts? Ian, is there anybody that you really wanted to see this season or even going into next that you didn't see yet?
Aside from the three that we were just talking about. Well, I think with that Barbie movie coming out, I think Ryan Gosling was a great host back in the day. It would be really nice to see him again.
Yeah.
Especially working with all the new cast.
For sure. Haynes, what about you?
You know, I just said that Kieran Culkin might be the least likely return because Succession just ended, and this person's show just ended as well. But you know, I just pray that he's got some other new project lined up, and there will be an excuse to have Anthony Corrigan in the next season, because as NoHo Hank in Barry, he was exceptional. And if you've seen the Barry finale, his performance, I won't, spoil anything because it's only a couple days ago, but man, Anthony Corrigan is a really, really, really talented actor, and I think he would be amazing in comedic sketches. So that's someone who I would just really love to see.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought you were going to go for Bill Hader, and I was going to say,
here's the thing: if we bring back Corrigan, maybe Hader will pop in for a sketch. I mean, that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really great. I feel like we're not going to get him until the 50th. So, but yeah, all good options. And look, Kylie, to answer your question, I think betting favorite right now is like Pete is like absolutely going to host in the fall. There is no way, like, he is the prodigal son, like he's coming home for sure when they get that happening. I think Jennifer Coolidge is an interesting case here because we all know that like the White Lotus season 3 is probably going to come out towards Christmas. So then do they pivot in a different direction, or is it too confusing to have Coolidge there for that one? I don't know. And then Kieran Culkin, I would say it would be fun, and I think he would host again, but now I really feel like that was a Succession focused hosting appearance. So I'm agreeing with the panel here on that. Also want to say that Victor Higgins, one of our great listeners, he actually sent this question in as Victor from Temecula Higgins, also asked if we think that Pete, Kieran, and Jennifer will return for season 49. P.S. He is still waiting for Paul Rudd's second chance to host again, and I'm sure that'll happen as well. All right, guys, let's continue the fun game that we had where we were talking about some of the Reddit, picks for best parts of the season. So I want to get your opinion too, Ian, as I was going through this with Haynes. But where we stopped before you jumped on with us was the best update feature from the season. And I know that you went and looked back at some of the favorite update features. So for you, Ian, what were your favorites when you went back and you saw some of them?
Pretty much anything Michael Longfellow did, I loved. And then definitely Cecily's Tammy the Trucker, who was there to talk about gas prices and not abortion.
Yeah. Yeah. That one actually hasn't been brought up that much, I guess, because she did, something very similar in season 47 that we, as like the people who talk about the show all the time, didn't reference that one as much, but that one was really high quality as well. So those are two very good ones that you brought up, Ian. Haynes, let me give you the top three in no particular order. I want your opinion, and then Ian, I'm going to ask you as well. Okay, top three update features as voted by Reddit: April Ludgate from the Aubrey Plaza episode, Michael Longfellow from the Miles Teller episode, and Drunk Uncle from the Jack Harlow episode.
Remind me which Michael Longfellow that was during the Miles Teller episode.
So that was his first one. Yeah, like the premiere.
They get to know Michael Longfellow. Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say that they voted for April Ludgate because Amy Poehler is just everyone. I mean, she's just such a darling. It's gonna swing, I think. And actually, I'm surprised that they put that Michael Longfellow ahead of some of the other ones. I loved it, but I thought there were ones that were even better. To me, Punxsutawney Phil, might have been the best, but I just like dumb comedy like that. I will say that they voted for April Ludgate.
Ian, what do you think?
I wouldn't be surprised at that one, but I go to the Reddit page a little bit, so I don't see, but I feel like some of them are diehard, so I feel like they would go with the like Drunk Uncle, because I feel like a lot of people do like Bobby Moynihan in the community. Like I feel like he's very well loved. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like that he would have been a top, like a fan favorite in there. And I loved it, especially his slip up. I mean, that was so funny.
So great. And we got to ask him about that this season, which was so cool. So that was a lot of fun. But you are actually right, Ian. We got Drunk Uncle here as the number one voted, then April Ludgate, then Michael Longfellow's first one.
Nice.
From the fans on Reddit. All right. How about top musical guest of the season as voted by the Reddit fans? Okay. Top three in no particular order. We got Lizzo from the Austin Butler episode, Brandi Carlile from the Martins, and then Jack White from the Woody episode. So, Ian, what do you think the Reddit fans voted for?
Well, I mean, if the Reddit users are anything like me and they like powerhouse vocalists, I understand why Lizzo and Brandi Carlile are mentioned, But I think another friend of the show, as you said, Lizzo, I think she would have been like picked just because she appeared in that PDD sketch as well. I don't know if that counts as being the performer, but to make a little cameo, I feel like that kind of boosts her a little bit amongst the others.
Okay. Haynes?
Lizzo is so well loved. Like, who doesn't like Lizzo, And she's just been on tour recently. I don't know if she's still on tour, but I wish that I'd gotten to go to one of those shows. My girlfriend did. I didn't. The tickets were long sold out, and she was going with all her friends. I would have loved to see Lizzo. She's amazing. But I am going to say that Reddit picked the same favorite musical performance of the season as me, which is Jack White.
Okay. The answer is actually Brandi Carlile, as voted by the Reddit fans, who said best musical performances of the season. Brandi Carlile, then Jack White, then Lizzo. Yeah, this is interesting. We also had some of the worst voted stuff voted by the Reddit. I'll just read these out to you.
I'm interested to hear this. This will be fun.
Okay, all right. Tell me if any of these, like, I'll go one by one. Tell me if any of these are weird to you that these were what was voted. Okay, worst episode of the season, voted by the Reddit fans, Amy Schumer. What do you think of that, Ian? Is that the worst episode of the season?
Not in my opinion. No, I really liked it.
Okay.
It wasn't my favorite, but I mean, I wouldn't say worst.
I'd say like Woody was probably the worst one of the season. Maybe by like expectation to disappointment ratio. Is that fair?
If you're going expectation to disappointment ratio, then by that metric, I think it's definitely Woody. Yeah, I mean that was a little disappointing. Jenna Ortega was not my favorite episode of the season either.
That is a hot
maybe. I think I don't know why some people just hate Amy Schumer. Like, I used to just blame like sexism or something, but I'm like, is that too reductive? Is there more to this? Should I hate Amy Schumer for some reason? But no, I don't think so. I love Amy Schumer. So
I gave her gum last year.
Nice. Listen, I liked the Amy Schumer episode. And I like Amy Schumer in general. So yeah, I'm not sure why all the hate, but
yeah. All right. How about worst cold open of the season? This was the Biden cold open from the Amy Schumer episode. So maybe that was just like Schumer derivatives.
Maybe that weighed it down.
Yeah, I think so. Worst monologue of the season. I think this one's pretty obvious. Do you know what it is?
Woody
Harrelson.
Yeah, for sure. Worst sketch of the season, Lisa from Temecula 2. So Lisa from Temecula 1 was voted the best episode, sketch of the season. Lisa from Temecula 2, the worst sketch, is voted by Reddit. Isn't that weird?
Wow, that is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it was nowhere near as good as the first, but that doesn't mean it was the worst sketch of the season.
I agree.
Right.
I think Marzipan was pretty bad. But I know people loved it. People loved it. I heard you talk about that one episode. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I had to try it just to see what it was like. Yeah. All right. So we have our worst pre-tape, our worst update feature, and our worst musical guest, which we'll tell you about in just a little bit. But Ian, I just want to thank you for coming on with us tonight because it was so cool to get to talk to you. You have like such a professional podcast setup. Are you a podcaster?
Yeah.
No, I try to do music here and there. I actually did start a podcast recently with one of my buddies, but we're just starting in the works. So
cool.
I'm pre-podcaster, I guess.
Awesome. And then like, where are you from? Like, how'd you get into SNL? Just so we get like the quick bio before you head off tonight, because this is the first time getting to talk to you on the show.
I'm from the Metro Detroit area, so and I've just been a fan of like comedy and SNL my whole life. always a big, just always just loved watching it with my parents. Loved Farley. I have like the best of like Farley and Sandler and all them DVDs I used to watch all the time. And I wanted to try to be on SNL, but when I looked up how, it looked almost impossible at the age I was at. So I kind of got discouraged and forgot about it for a while, and then got back into it as an adult. Well, back into trying to pursue like sketch and stuff. Like I've been looking at local theater and stuff and trying to get involved in that, just because my love for it grew, especially like finding the podcast. Cause I was like, I need more people to nerd out about this stuff with. Cause all my friends are like, yeah, cool. We don't care. I'll send them sketches. And it's just like, enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to have you as a part of our community. You're welcome to nerd out with us whenever. So I hope that you come and join us for future podcasts and sign up for stuff like this.
Absolutely. It's been fun. And I'm glad I was able to make an episode, and hopefully I'll be able to do more. And thank you for having me.
Awesome. Of course. Well, thank you for your support. So nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Thanks, Ian. Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, it's so cool, right? Get to meet a new patron. Cool. It's just so much fun. Yeah. All right. Well, are you ready to bring on our next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
I don't know this lineup, so I'm excited. Yeah.
All right, this is great. All right, let's bring in our next patron coming on in. It is my friend Fred. Fred, how you doing?
Doing great. Great to see you guys. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Yeah, I'm going to boost your volume just a little bit, just to make sure that everybody else can hear you.
And Mr. Haynes, I noticed, like, do we have the same eyeglasses on, you think? Or not
pretty
quite?
Similar.
Thematically.
I think mine are closer to a perfect circle. Yours have a little more shape to them.
Yeah.
Well, but good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
Great luck. Fred, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, so like I don't know if you know this, but like in the States, it was Memorial Day weekend. So
yes, I do know it. Thank you to all the troops down there.
Yes, and no, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back on. I do love this bit when everyone gets to kind of just do their own thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's been about, I can't believe it. Is it 6 weeks since the last SNL episode? It's crazy. How are you feeling about everything?
You know, I kind of hate it that it's been so long, right? So finally, like you guys had like a set of shows again last week, so that's helped a lot. But it's sad to see it end on that note. But because it was such a good season, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. You think if it was a bad season, you would be hating it more that it ended early?
Yeah, I mean, if all of us didn't feel so strongly about it, and including myself, that would have been like more tragic, right? But I feel good about next season. I thought it was great. It was my favorite season in a while. So,
yeah. I think it's like going out for dinner. Like you order something, you're not sure how good it is, and then the meal is just like so great, and you're like, okay, like should I order dessert or should I just appreciate the meal that I got? That was really good.
There you
go. I feel like that's probably what we got here.
Yeah, it's sort of, but also like it. Yeah, I mean, I guess like the Armas episode was not bad, but like I just like wish you kind of saw it coming. Like this might be the last one, like something like that, like something more symbolic. But there's no way to really know. Yeah,
well, definitely not on screen. I could tell you that off screen, like behind the camera, being there, like I was told that basically when they went to the table read and when they met the host that week and all the cast members were there, Lauren was basically like, well, probably see you all in September because I think they knew that this was coming, but everybody was just praying that it wouldn't happen at that time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily written that way. I don't think I got anything from the Ana de Armas episode that looked like a finale. But yeah, it's tough that sometimes these things are out of our control.
Yeah.
So, Fred, why don't we take another question from our listeners? And Haynes, love to get your thoughts on all of these as well. So this one comes in from Culkin Cola, who says, I love Devin, but I feel like I didn't get a grasp on who he is on the show. He was excellent in sketches, but I couldn't tell who he is as a performer. What does he need to do in season 49 so he could find his outlet? So we talked about this a little bit last week on the By the Number show, where we went through every single cast member. And I was surprised, actually, even talking on the roundtable a couple of weeks ago, just about how much people felt like they didn't understand Devin's role on the show. Did you feel similarly, Haynes?
A little bit, but not, in a way that makes me nervous for him necessarily. I think that happens when you're a new cast member. It's part of the process. I think if there's anything that he can do that would allow us to get to know him better is, yeah, I mean, he needs to find his kind of clique. He needs to find his little group of writers that he clicks with, that all of a sudden, like, the same people, they just like want to get together every week. They love each other's ideas, and they want to write for him. That seems to be the way to survive when you're a new cast member at SNL, is to kind of find a group. And so I don't know, how these relationships develop specifically when it's behind doors, but we know that people who find early success are because they kind of found a group that wanted to write for them, and obviously it still depends on how these things read, but and there's the 50 sketches get selected down to 12 or something, but I think hopefully he's made some friends this first year. And we'll see him interacting with folks more. And over the summer, maybe that bond will grow. And when we come into next season, we'll see him getting written into more sketches. And as he's written into more sketches, we'll see how the audience reacts to what he does. Because as genius as Lorne and the head writers are, nothing's a joke until someone laughs at it. So, you take those, we see how stuff does in the dress rehearsals, and if it makes it to the show, and he has, I think we'll find a niche for him, but that's just a natural part of the process. I'm not nervous that we don't truly know Devin yet. It's
interesting, we talked about like finding a writing group, and my favorite thing from Devin this season was that HIV thing that he did in the Aubrey Plaza episode. I thought that was like the best Devin we got all year long.
That was really funny.
It was so funny. So I went to go take a look and see who wrote that, and it was Rosebud Baker and Michael Che. And like, that is, I mean, Rosebud and Che, like, they're good friends. That is a great team to help write with Devin. So if they're able to help him find his voice, I think that would be great. Fred, what do you think about Devin and his role on the show?
Well, what's interesting about what you just said is, like, in an alternate universe, like, I can see Che playing that role too, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if he was just like a tiny bit more of a performer, like it's kind of his like style. But and then, like, to Haynes's point also, what's interesting is, like, at least in social media, like, it seems like Devin's like super popular and like is friends with like so many of the cast. So I guess, like, now, like, to take it further, it's like, how does he kind of carve out like his own voice or like his take on things? Because it seems like he's very well liked. Like, I'm trying to remember, but like, I'll see random stories and he's like hanging out with like the Smooks and stuff. But like, like I guess his voice is still getting there, but I couldn't agree more. Like, I feel like everyone on the show right now definitely is doing well and will be back. So.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with. I do think that he probably has that like first year thing of just not wanting to be too aggressive and putting his foot down on like the way he wants to run his sketches. And also, I mean, let's be real. It's much more straightforward of a process to bring someone on from a sketch troupe and put them in the SNL universe versus the stand-ups that we got this season, who all have a learning curve to adjust to the SNL process. Like, put Devin on Update, he's going to kill it with some stand-up, but to put him in sketches or writing characters and all that stuff, I don't know how familiar or comfortable he is with that process. So that is something that I think will lead to a longer learning curve.
Yeah. And it's unfair, right? Like, Hernandez is so charming and outgoing, right? Like, not everyone could be Hernandez. So like, when you're compared side by side, it's not always, everyone's not the same.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take this next question from our friend Monette, who joins us in the chat tonight. Monette, always great to see you. She asks, will auditions be going on even if there's still a writer strike by the time the process starts? Are mid-season departures and hirings the best call in this case? So this is a really interesting logistical question, right? Because typically what would happen is, scouting would begin, the end of the season would be now. So like we're 1 week out or a little bit after 1 week out of what would have been the SNL finale. That nothing happens in June, like everybody goes on vacations. And then in July, they start doing some scouting. They'll go to different comedy festivals, including Just for Laughs here at the end of July, and start looking and seeing, and then inviting people for showcases. Aristotle Atari discussed the entire process on our SNL stories we did. And, they'll eventually bring people in September and then October and hire them. But Haynes, how do you feel like SNL should approach this with the writer's strike looming and potentially a delayed 49 start?
I mean, I have no idea. This is a really great question, which Monette always has great questions and comments. I don't know. I mean, when you're doing these auditions, obviously, writers are part of that process. So if you're a member of the Writers Guild, you're not supposed to be working right now. I don't know that any of them would break rank to say, well, I'm not writing, I'm just performing an administrative duty. So I don't know how they'll handle that, but I do expect.
You're saying, but just to clarify, you're saying like writers who work for SNL who are not supposed to be working right now, you're not sure if they would go out to scout for new performers for the show?
Well, I mean, if they're on strike, I think it's all kind of part and parcel. I don't think you can separate and that's what I'm saying is I don't think you can be like, oh, I'm just part of a hiring process, but I'm not because I'm not writing a sketch this week. I don't think you can separate them. I view it as if you're a member of the Writers Guild, you're on strike, and we're not working right now. But I could be wrong. That's just would be my assumption. So I don't know how they'll handle it, but it's something they've faced before. Lauren is, a veteran of the industry, and there's plenty of other veterans of the industry in that building who will know how to manage this. It just may be a season where, they don't make a lot of those off-season investments, and we just kind of prep for the new season and tie things back up. And as soon as they're, things are worked out, then the season will start up. And maybe they don't even go through much of that process. I have no idea, but it's fun to speculate about.
For sure. I just wonder, at some point is Steve Higgins and Eric Kenward, who are working very well with Lauren. Yes, they are writers on the show technically, right, but they're also executive producers. So they're
more producers than writers, yes, right?
So but
I'm wondering and so a guy like Higgins, but he's in the writers' room. He's in there. I mean, still, every week, he's working on editing those sketches with folks.
Right. So I think this is a little ticky-tack, but let me think this over and let's get Brett's thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I guess, I was not prepared for that. But I guess I would assume you can be a part of all these different guilds, right? And, it would probably be a betrayal to write. But if you're doing some other aspect of the show, you can queue it up, right? And then you're not going to hire them or anything like that until something else is resolved. But I guess I never assumed that things can happen in parallel. So this question didn't quite cross my mind. But of course, if there's no show, there's no show. But if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, this is an interesting comment from Matt in the chat, one of our amazing friends at the show here. He brings up, did they hold auditions to look for replacements for Maya back in 2008 during the strike? And I think Bobby Moynihan, if I remember correctly, talked about this a little bit, where he said that he was going to be hired to be brought on at the beginning of 2008 or something like that. And the strike happened, and then they hired Casey Wilson to replace Maya. And then, he thought he wasn't going to get on the show, and ultimately they ended up calling him back for the start of season 34. And yeah, I mean, I just think that the precedent for something like this is interesting here, because I do think they could probably still scout and then do some of the duties that are happening here. Look, technically, writers are not supposed to be writing right now, but are they like at their homes writing future spec scripts for
No, of course
movies
they
and
are.
TV
They're
shows?
writing
Yeah,
at
like,
home. They're just not writing for contract. They're not writing.
Yeah, they don't want to get paid right now, right? Because like exactly, like for contract.
Yeah, but if
So,
Lorne
like,
Michaels
course,
calls,
like,
Lorne Michaels calls you and says like, "Hey, buddy, we're gonna fly up to Montreal and watch some comedy festivals and see who we might be interested in." Like, I don't know if that's that like crazy. So, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we need like we need a union expert here to help us with all of this. Now, the other aspect of this question, obviously, is like let's put that to the side. Like, what should they do? Like, what happens if they hire somebody and then like it's just delayed for months and months and then doesn't start until January of 2024? Is that something like you have to consider? Like, if you were producing the show, Haynes, would you be still scouting anyways as if everything was normal, or would you perhaps delay that process?
I would do as much of I would keep things as close to the normal process as possible. This is NBC. It's not like we need to worry about budget or anything because we're dealing with this right now. Like there's no reason that they should not, in my understanding of how things work, there's no reason that they shouldn't be trying to keep things as close to the normal process as possible. The show is going to come back eventually. Like we were saying at the beginning of the show, like this, these kind of the writer's strike doesn't kill SNL. SNL is coming back. My thing, I would think that they would want to do everything as close to the normal process as possible. I mean, look what they did to get through COVID. They can, I think that they will work to keep everything as close to the normal process as possible. I would expect that they would do that. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't try and do that.
Yeah. And look, I think SNL likes bringing on at least one new cast member every season. I really feel that it would be a major rarity and against their mindset for these things if they kept everything status quo. Even though that's what we may want, I just don't think that they would do that. So because of that, I think we're not going to get departures, but we might get one or maybe two additions at most. So I think they're going to at least scout and see when those one or two people would be coming in, and then potentially look at bringing them on in October or January, whatever is decided at the end.
When was the last time they haven't brought anyone on?
I think that would be between season 32 and 33. I think that was the last time. So going back to then, which, it's been forever, really. I mean, obviously not all the new additions have worked all the time, but I think they're always looking to, switch things up, which is interesting, obviously, because if you go back to the beginnings of the show, like, it seems like the mindset back then was like, let's just keep everybody together as long as possible.
Yeah.
All right, let's go through some of these other worse that we didn't get to, which is a kind
worse
of a fun
is an
game.
easy one. That's a fun one. Yeah.
All right, if this is so easy, Fred, let me ask you, worst update feature from this season. Anything come to mind? Could be anything from these past 18 episodes.
I know that's.
Did I just stump you?
You did stump me.
All right, I'll give you a clue. The worst update feature from this season, as voted by the Reddit fans, was from the Steve Martin and Martin Short episode. If either of you can think of what this is. So this was something at the end of update.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you what it is. It's Mikey Day and Chloe Fineman as Kurt and Deb.
Oh, that was not very good. That's true. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna forget about that one, Mikey.
Yeah.
Okay. Worst musical guest this season, as voted by the Reddit audience. What do we
I
think?
don't watch all the musical guests, to be honest.
All right, so Haynes might be a better person for this.
Break. Yeah, because I know he's a big music guy. Although Jack White was awesome. I agree.
Jack White was awesome. Awesome. Worst musical guest? I don't know. I mean, give us a hint.
All right, it's a Lil.
A little? Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a Lil Baby. It's a Lil Baby. That's who it is. Lil Baby from the Michael B. Jordan episode was the worst musical guest of the season.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, not particularly memorable. So yeah.
No. No. All right. Final question or final thing here from our Reddit fans. Worst pre-tape of the season. So, any guesses?
I think it might. You hands. Okay, I think it might be like the Travis Kelce one with PDT.
All right, interesting choice there. So you're talking about so the Travis Kelce one with PDD. Haynes, do you have a pick here?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like another.
See, I like that Travis Kelce one with PDD with the self-defense one. I thought that
I
was
do
pretty...
too. I just wasn't sure if people did. Like, I feel like on the show, no one really spoke about it too much.
Yeah, that older woman was a delight. But yeah, this is an interesting one. Jeannie Darcy from the Molly Shannon episode.
Really?
Yeah. Don't think people cared for that one.
These Reddit people are interesting.
Them Reddit
right?
folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you to our friend Brennan for sending those in. That's a fun little exercise to do on the show tonight. All right. Well, Fred, I mean, I got to talk to you a couple of times this season on the Patron Feedback Show. It was so much fun getting to go through these episodes. So anything else you would like to say as we look ahead to 49 or any other final thoughts?
I guess just like real quick before, I thought Sam Smith was so good as a performer.
Cool.
And I'm surprised that it hasn't come up really since. But other than that, I'm pretty excited to see what's ahead for sure.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for checking out the content. I'm so happy we were able to fill your feed a little bit over the last little bits, and we have plenty of summer content as well. And hopefully we'll be back with 49 before not too long.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us, Fred. Great
meeting you, Fred.
See ya.
All right, Haynes. So let's continue our conversation tonight. We're going to bring in another patron in just a few minutes. But before that, we'd love to take another question from the listeners, if that's cool with you.
All right.
Okay. If the strike continues for a while and we get a shortened season 49, will this have an effect on cast members leaving towards season 50? And that is from our friend Curly Joe. So basically here, what we're thinking about is if there is a shortened season 49, let alone the fact that we got a shortened season 48, will that affect any departures potentially coming up over the next few years?
I don't think the shortened 49 will affect departures as much as, the shortened season this year. Folks, obviously, I mean, if a season gets cut short, I think kind of everybody is going to probably kind of want to come back. Like, maybe I'm not saying that everyone necessarily wants a big goodbye, like Cecily or Kristen Wiig or whatever, but I don't think anyone wants the choice taken away from them. Not even about a big goodbye, but just about, it just ending with the show. It feels like a little bit like you're having something taken away from you. You don't get to do it your way. I would think that this would have a bigger impact because, it'll be the beginning of, we would assume it would be the beginning of season 49 that would be shortened. Pray to God season 49 doesn't start on time and then suddenly become shortened for some reason. That would be really horrible. But let's assume that, season 49 starts late. We got this shorter season. I don't think that would necessarily have a huge impact on folks leaving the show because, because they'll still get to do their thing somewhere toward the end of the season. In the last couple episodes, they'll get to make their impact and, maybe have a big goodbye in the finale. I don't think that a shortened beginning, a late start to the season would have a huge effect on departures. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, my only thought process on this is basically just the mindset of the cast members, which is like if you're going for a bigger goodbye and you're perhaps affected by your ability to have that goodbye on the show, then that may delay the interest in saying goodbye at this time, which includes people like Colin Jost and Michael Che, right? Which is, had they decided to depart this May, they didn't get that opportunity. So then they come back for 49 at some point. Do they want the full season? Do they want to be there for 50? All these things are considerations. I think 50 is the big number. This is a narrative we've been expressing since we started podcasting back in 46, which is like we have a 5-year count to get to season 50. SNL wants their next great cast to be there at that time. And you have to think that the cast members are thinking about that exact same thing.
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I want to bring in one of our great patrons who I love getting to chat with every time that he comes on. I want to get his thoughts on this conversation. So let me bring in my friend Will Norman here. So Will, how are you doing?
Doing well, John. How are you? Hey, Andrew, how's it going tonight?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Doing well.
So great to see you again. It's been too long. I think the last time we spoke to you on the show, was it the Brendan Gleeson episode right after that one?
It was. Yeah, went out on a good one, I guess. Yeah, it's been a while. My schedule has been crazy this year with when we're recording, but I'm happy to be back with you again. So
yeah, absolutely. So thankful to have you on. So yeah, we were just talking about the idea of like, the strike obviously shortened 48. So we don't know when 49 is starting. Do you think that might change the mindset of some of the cast members as they're thinking about when they could potentially be departing the show?
I think it does. I think to that point, with everything being delayed and not knowing how much we'll get of the show before we get that traditional New Year break, some cast members might be approaching, maybe Lauren too, the same way it was with Cecily, where it's kind of like, was hard to jam in that goodbye, at the end of the year with everyone departing. So maybe you have a lot of mid-season additions and mid-season departures, more so than we've seen in years past, just because of the season being cut short this year.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with what you're saying. Well, Will, what were your thoughts overall on season 48? Since it's been so long, we got to hear from you. How are you feeling about the season overall?
I feel really good about it. I feel like season 48 was really good overall. I think the transition obviously started last year, and there's a lot of anxiety amongst the fans of how is this going to go, what does this look like. And I think if you look at all the highlights, the hosts that came in, the success of the new cast members, I feel like if we're going back to waiting for the premiere, we could all as fans feel really good about where the show's at and where it's headed. So I feel like overall it's been good. I really enjoyed it. So I enjoyed season 48. I feel like it's hard to let go, but I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed season 48.
Yeah. Any favorite moments that really stood out to you that you're going to remember from the season?
There were quite a few. I mean, I actually really liked, still one of my favorite cold opens was the Miles Teller episode, just with the Manning cast cold open. It was kind of a really fun meta way to open up the season. I thought that they actually might bring that back for the finale if they'd had a chance, just to kind of talk about the season overall. I really enjoyed it's kind of a swan moment, but I really enjoyed Che's April Fool's joke on Colin. I thought that was really funny and well played. Just kind of fun to see them, seeing that chemistry with him, like being able to play off that. And I think the Pedro Pascal episode, like Lisa from Temecula, is probably my favorite sketch or moment of the season, just with the just how genuine it seemed when the first time around. So I mean, there's a lot of things I think I'd think about for this season, but I think overall, like just the new cast members being able to ingratiate themselves into the cast, and then just the overall quality of the episodes being really good throughout the season. It feels like we're in a good place writing and performing wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Will, do you want to take another question from one of our listeners tonight?
Sure. I'll try.
All right. So Haynes and Will answer this next question, which comes in on Instagram from @AmayaRS. Says, can you talk about the rise of Heidi? Okay. Interesting, because last week on the By the Number, Haynes, did you get a chance to listen to the By the Number show, by the way?
No.
Okay, well, let me tell you, we got to talk about every cast member, and when we got to Heidi Gardner, your friend and mine, Bill Kenny, was on the show with us, and he said that he believes, and I just want to quote him accurately, he says that if Heidi Gardner continues to have seasons like she just had in season 48, she will be a Mount Rushmore woman in the history of SNL. And I was like, what?
Wow. Yeah, this is the hot take show or the By the Number show?
This was on the By the, yeah, right. Yeah. Wait, anyways, look, I love Heidi. I think she's fantastic, but I don't know if she's like this is the question. Could we talk about the rise of it? Has she done enough to be in that pantheon yet of like great SNL women, let alone cast members? I don't know. So let me get both of your thoughts on Heidi's season and like where she is as far as elevating in the rankings. Haynes, start with you.
Listen, has she done enough right now to be on the Mount Rushmore? No, because if I can still count, that's only 4, so that's, and there's been a lot of great SNL cast members, whether we make it SNL cast members or just female cast members, there just been so many. If listen, Bill has a great mind for SNL. He has a great memory. He watches, he didn't miss an episode for 30 years or something. And he just takes great notes. He doesn't forget anything. And he always has great perspective, going back a long way. He has great perspective. So I value his opinions very, very highly. But I don't know how many seasons he's implying she needs to keep doing this to be on that Mount Rushmore. Like she had an amazing season last year, but like it won't just be, 1 or 2 more seasons of that. Give me 7 more seasons of that, then the answer is yes.
Has Bill Kenny become the Skip Bayless of our network right now?
No one will appreciate that question more than Bill.
Okay, good. All right, well, let me get your thoughts on Heidi and her trajectory based on this season.
Yeah, no, I agree with Haynes. I think it's hard I can't say as of right now that she's done enough to be on the Mount Rushmore. I think that you'd have to have, like 7 more seasons or like a Keenan run, just where the numbers are just undeniable to get to that point. And I also respect Bill's opinion. I think I would be interested to know who is on his current Mount Rushmore and who is being taken off for Heidi.
Well, okay, so basically this is what I said here. Tell me, we're gonna this is gonna be interesting now. This is what I said. I said to me, the Mount Rushmore for the women of SNL, at least in my opinion, is Kate McKinnon, Cecily Strong, Jan Hooks, and Kristen Wiig. I think those are my 4 I'd have to put there. Yeah. So and by the way, I would probably say Amy Poehler is very close to finding a way on there as well. So then the question is I said to Bill, I was like, who do you take off of that list? And he was like, Cecily. And I was like, I have a very hard time. You match up the stats, you match up the eye test. I can't tell you right now that Heidi has produced anything better than Cecily as far as the overall season is concerned.
Sure. Right. Yeah. I think first of all, a solid Mount Rushmore. I think a lot of it, obviously, when we're talking about these, is a lot of subjective and what do you value in a performer and where do you, what do you weight? I would say, overall, I wouldn't put Heidi in that Mount Rushmore right now. I think she definitely has to have some more seasons of quality, some more quality seasons like this one, and then with some more high highs. I think she's get the benefit of getting just more time to shine. It's been a crowded cast, so it's kind of nice to be able to see her get a chance to flourish and just get more screen time. But I don't think she's there yet. But I don't want to count anybody out. You never know. She might, we might be talking about her in season 60, as part of the Mount Rushmore. So who knows?
Yeah, I love to think about her as the person who I honestly feel was slightly overshadowed over the last few seasons and then now had an opportunity to break out of her shell even more. She always was really good at one aspect of the show, which was clearly she was just as good as you can get on Weekend Update. But now her ability to anchor some live sketches was something I was looking for this season. And what I did find is that she was really consistent in a lot of live sketches where she wasn't necessarily the focal point or the role in all the sketches. She was there as a great utility player, a la Kenan Thompson. So for me, I have to wonder if that is what she is going to be for the next few years. And I think longevity is the key here. If she's able to stay on a few more years and just stabilize a lot of sketches with other people who are, maybe more eccentric performers, I think we will, in the long run, look back on Heidi Gardner's career as a very solid one on the show.
I'd agree.
I agree with a lot of that too. And, obviously, as you said, she's been just amazing at the Weekend Update desk. She just oozes characters and just, some really great ones this season in particular. But I see her in sketches. Yeah, I think she has a very, at least this year, she had a very Mikey Day vibe to me in that she was really good at playing the straight character who's kind of dealing with the crazy character. And that I think is a role that she can thrive in. Although when you think about her Weekend Update characters, you're very confident in her ability to play a crazy character too.
But here's the difference, Haynes, is that when she's on Weekend Update, she is so good because she is only responsible for herself in that
Mhm.
role, where she comes out and she could just change into this purely, like, she's a brilliant actress, and she
Mhm.
could just be so method in her roles on Weekend Update. And it is such a different skill set, in my opinion, to be that type of person in a sketch, because then you have to deal with everybody and all the moving parts around you. So I don't know that she's applied the method crazy character to live sketches. So I think what we're getting from her in live sketches is something that is much more natural to her, which is like when she is in the environment with a lot of people, she could play it more straight. But when she's on her own and only
Mhm.
responsible for putting out her dramatic work, we will get that via the update disc.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Will, what about any other thoughts you have on the season or anything you're looking forward to in 49? Was there anything else that you watched that you were like, oh, I really want to just, get to talk about this?
Yeah, no, I think I'm really excited just to see kind of how obviously with the strike and everything too, timing wise, how that affects any potential changes with the cast. I feel like the cast is in a good place, but there's always stuff that happens around the margins or things that are unexpected that happen. So I'm interested to see what continuity we get from this season versus next year. And then also, I mean, we're talking about, you mentioned John, like headed towards season 50. Like how much of the things that are planned for season 50, whether it's host wise, musical guest wise, that maybe haven't fit into that there's not room enough for season 50, will start to get in 49. Maybe hosted, it's hard to arrange schedule wise. Like, are we going to get some of those people that haven't been on the show for a long time or first timers that will get in 49 instead of 50? That's kind of a warm up to the big event. So looking forward to that and just kind of seeing when the season starts and, like I said, how much will be left to see as the season progresses next year.
So interesting, because I have to think that if 49 goes according to plan, we're going to get all 1 or 2 time hosts next season. I don't think that any of the 5 timers are coming back, because I think that everyone is being held off for that next year, where the ad revenue that NBC is going to be making from all the episodes is going to be so much higher, because people are going to be coming back. There's going to be unexpected cameos. I just think that the live viewership of season 50 will be extremely high. So I have to think they're going to hold back a little bit next season. And I wonder how that would affect the overall quality of season 49.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'm curious. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out, because, like I said, 50 is a big one. So we'll see how it goes for 49.
Absolutely. Well, a couple questions for you. One is, I got to listen to you on the SNL Hall of Fame today. Your episode came out where you were on the round table. You were so fantastic at that. So I'm so impressed with you, with your entire knowledge and everything that you were saying about all the nominees you were putting out there. So great to see you on that, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, John. I appreciate it. Yeah, super fun. Always great to talk with fellow fans about SNL. And like I said, thanks for checking out the episode.
Of course. And the other question I have for you is, are you a basketball fan? Because I noticed the picture behind you.
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge Lakers fan, so not quite ready to talk about it yet with them getting swept. But yeah, I guess over this way, I'm a big Lakers fan, big Kobe fan. And like I said, just waiting for them to start playing again next season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just tell you, I'm a big Miami Heat fan.
Well, shout out to you.
This is my dedication to the patrons. Yeah, this is my dedication to the patrons, that I am doing this during Game 7, which I was really hoping would not happen. We were very close to wrapping things up on Saturday.
For any patrons that aren't sports fans but doubted your love, no, John is 100% committed to the cause, because that's big for Game 7.
Yeah, for sure. I got my nice box score happening right over here on my phone as we're going. But yes, for sure. Saturday was quite miserable, as they lost it in the last second. But looking forward to catching up on all of that. Will, what else are you up to? Anything else going on in your life?
Nothing much. I mean, honestly, just been real. I mean, busy. Work is always kind of busy, so I've been traveling a lot for that. And then do yoga outside of this. So just kind of those things have been keeping me pretty busy. Other than that, I just been listening to podcasts, and like I said, hopped on when I can, and life is good though. It's been a nice Memorial Day. Got some stuff done around the house, so no complaints.
Awesome.
What's the medal for? What's the medal for?
This is a fake medal that I got. I got at a work meeting once upon a time. We were doing like an Olympic theme, so I just keep that for my old team. So
funny.
No value there.
Funny. Sorry to call you out.
No, you're good. You're good. Actually, I think John, you've seen this already, but I'll see if I can show you guys this really quick. Give me one second.
Okay, a little show and tell here on the Patron Feedback Show. So looking forward to seeing what we're going to get here from our friend Will Norman on the show tonight.
Sorry, no, this is terrible for podcasts, obviously, but I got this from Wally, Cute Card Wally. I got this for me a long time ago. So
So here, yeah, I'll read it up just for the audio listeners so they could see. So Will is holding up a cue card that says, "We've got a great show for you today. Will Norman is here, so stick around. We'll be right back." And that is from our friend Wally, the cue card guy. Yeah. Obviously, that is fantastic. So very happy that you have that, Will. So cool.
Yeah, great for a podcast. Thanks for letting me share.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Always great to catch up with you. I look forward to having you on for a full show in the future, and all the 100%. Best to you, buddy.
Same to both of you. Great seeing you, John. Good seeing you. Guys, take care. And keep listening.
Thanks, Will. All right, Haynes, you having a good time tonight?
Oh, of course.
Okay, well, we got another patron lined up for us right next, and this guy is coming to us from across the pond. So let me bring in my friend Lewis Cooper. Lewis, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, late for you,
awesome.
Lewis, but happy to have you on.
2:15, so
2:15. Oh gosh,
we are.
Well, thank you. How was your day today, Lewis?
Succession Barry ended, so mixed feelings on that. The episodes were great. Sad they're over. So
all right, no spoilers really here, because just in case.
No, of course not. Of course not.
In case, but yes, very big weekend for television, obviously. But we're gonna flash back, I guess, 6 weeks. Season 48 ended, and we never got to hear your thoughts, Lewis, on the season. So what are you thinking overall?
I'm really enjoying it. Oh, enjoyed past tense. We got a lot of new stuff, which I think something I felt with 47 was we were getting some new stuff, but a lot of it was kind of getting meshed with the old, still kind of moving out of the political Kate and AD, a lot of the tired tropes we'd see in Mike and Alex. So we kind of seen for years, and we were still seeing some of the new stuff. We were still seeing some of the new stuff like Sarah or JJ were bringing, and I think this season we're kind of seeing that on full front. I'm very happy and sad that so many people left, because I think so many great cast members, especially Cecily, her leaving. She is such a talented performer. She's one of my favorite actresses, one of my favorite comedians. But I think her leaving has been such a necessary move, as the first 3 episodes still finding their footing, but the back half of the season, it's really felt, I don't know how to describe it, but very consistently on top of their game. Sure, a lot of sketches are still missing. Not missing as in like hit and miss, but they've found their flow very quickly, despite losing so many people, and it's a good flow that I think if it just keeps going, they keep sprinkling in more new stuff, I think it's possible to get to a new golden era.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, isn't it great, Haynes, that we have all these people coming on from all across the world, and they're all saying they loved SNL this season? Like, how surprising is that? Like, nobody comes on and says, "You know what? I hated the season, and you guys suck."
Well, it's awesome, and I agree with everything that Lewis just said. I mean, Cecily is also one of my favorite performers of all time, but yeah, you make a great point. Like, it just opened up so much space in the show. I mean, they just utilized her so much. This does create a ton of space, and I do think they've hit a really good stride, or at least it felt like they did, until I guess they tripped on the sidewalk that we call writer strike. And so I don't know. We'll see if they can pick up next season with the same kind of steam that they had rolling into the second half of the season after the New Year's break.
Lewis, are you cool with taking a question from one of our listeners?
Yeah, completely. Go for it.
All right, let's do that. Let's take a question from on Instagram from @JusticeForAugustusGloop. I guess, is that the guy from Willy Wonka? That's very all right.
Did Augustus deserve justice for something?
Yeah. Did he die in Willy Wonka?
He did. Originally died, in the new one he didn't.
Yeah. Sorry for no spoilers for Willy Wonka. But anyways, all right. Justice for Augustus Gloop wants to know something that the show should fix going into next year. So an interesting turn of like how we view the show. Anything that we think that the show still needs to fix going into next year. Lewis, what do you think?
I think we're slowly fixing a lot of the issues I had. Political sketches. I don't mind cold openings being political. We did see it's a bit. I'm kind of sick of slightly relevant politician monologues for 6 minutes for the cold opens, because I think there's a lot of clever things you can do with the cold opens. I think sometimes it is very necessary, especially with upcoming like figures like DeSantis or not really still, but Trump. sometimes it is necessary to have like a few minutes talking about them, but I think there is much more creative things they can do with cold opens based on the fact that they are set in the now. I really liked the first day of summer cold open because I don't mind the kind of cast member parades, mainly when they're cold opens. If they're restricting to that, it kind of, you open the episode, same with the Oscars one, you're kind of going, okay, here's the cast, they're all ready to perform today, this is something that's happening in the real world that interests me, I'm going to keep watching, compared to something you jokes you've seen about all week on Twitter. And I think SNL needs to be aware that they are now, and for the last decade, have been competing with social media, when there's so many funny people on Twitter making jokes about current politicians. SNL kind of has to argue why we should listen to their take and why we should tune in and find them entertaining, because I think they're kind of hitting a weird middle ground of they're doing what they've done since the show started in regards to politics, and I think there is a lot of room to evolve on that and really enhance the fact that you're live, enhance the fact that you have a big cast, and utilize that to make something really great that makes people want to go to that for their political comedy finds rather than only their phone.
Brilliantly said. Yeah, that was awesome, Lewis. So thanks for that. Haynes, what do you think? Anything they should fix, or anything you want to comment on what Lewis said?
Well, I think Lewis made some great points. I mean, the number one, listen, SNL is always ebbing and flowing, and you're constantly tweaking, and we're having our ups and downs and momentum swings different directions for different actors and different themes. So I don't think SNL is broken in any way. I thought this was kind of an interesting question to say, is there something they need to fix moving forward? I mean, the number one thing that needs to get fixed is the union contract, I guess. But once we fix that, listen, Lewis was talking about, we're competing with social media. That did bring up something that's slightly related. I'm not a huge fan of the TikTok sketches. I generally do like. Do
you mean like specifically like the ones we got in 47?
Yes. And those were something that I was never very into. I think that, what I'm trying to comment on is Lewis's point that, we're trying to, yes, of course, SNL is trying to draw eyeballs and they're competing with new types of entertainment. But I do like the idea of them not trying to, I think the way they compete with other forms of entertainment is by being themselves. I think SNL has had a good thing going for a long time. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't evolve. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that I don't think that we need like TikTok sketches. I don't think we need sketches about TikTok to try and draw eyeballs from TikTok, which sometimes it feels like maybe that's the case. The thing that I do like about those sketches were that they were, it's a good revolving door for characters. And I generally do like revolving door sketches, where we get to have, 10 different characters march across the stage. I have fun with that stuff, but I think that the way that SNL can compete most with other forms of entertainment is by doing what they do best. And that shouldn't be hard because there's no one else who does it. SNL is a unique institution because of what it's done for so long. There's no other live form of comedy, anything like this, where the whole country or, internationally, people are tuning in. Lewis is talking to us at, 2:15 in the morning. And obviously, John, you're watching in Canada.
So far away.
It's such a unique thing. There's nothing else like it. I don't think they need to try and be anything other than that. And I don't think they need to try to suck eyeballs away other than by doing what they do best, which is bringing us live comedy, most Saturday nights of the fall and spring,
Right. I mean, first of all, I hate your take. I think it's not the Bill Kenny level of take, but it's not great because SNL absolutely needs to evolve for sure.
No, evolve, not try to be something that they're not. Do you understand that? I think there's a difference there. I think there's a difference there.
Yeah, I do feel that like taking TikTok trends and then translating them to the SNL machine is probably a path for success. So it's not necessarily like recreating what somebody would do on TikTok, but using things that are popular on TikTok and then trying to get something from SNL to be popular on TikTok, I think is important for the longevity of the show. So, but
let me tell you a secret. Let me tell you a secret, John, about the longevity of this show. TikTok is going to be banned next month. Okay, so forget TikTok. Okay, forget about it. Like that's not the longevity.
I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just telling you, there's.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then wait till the next TikTok pops up. So that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Something I'll say about the TikTok sketches is with those, it didn't feel like it. I saw this. Well, we have seen this in sketches with cold opens a couple times in the past. I'm thinking about the Gen Z Hospital, and there was one in 47. I think it was Biden. The whole thing was a bunch of TikTok influencers. I know
that
Melissa going. Yeah, that cool. And with those, it feels like SNL is trying to make fun of the. Okay, I should not use hands. This is an audio format. But if there's generations, there's Gen Z, millennials, Gen X, whatever. If that's how we're looking at SNL, and SNL is currently sitting at like millennial, kind of like older millennial, kind of moving towards Gen Z, with the previous two, Gen Z Hospital and that cold open with Biden and the TikTok influencers, it felt like millennials trying to make fun of Gen Z humor, but with the two TikTok sketches, it feels like Gen Z's trying to make fun of the Gen Z humor. And I think that's why those TikTok sketches work so much, both pre-tapes work so much better, because it feels like someone like myself who uses TikTok a lot can watch that and go, haha, you're right, that is a silly thing, that is a funny thing, that is something you see on the app, rather than SNL trying to painfully recreate parody you've seen better on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't when I was saying like evolve, I wasn't meaning that, the average 11-year-old whose attention span has been permanently damaged due to TikTok. They're not the ones tuning into SNL, but there is the kind of young adult, my kind of generation, people my age, that they're kind of at the brink of, they could get really invested in SNL at the time, but TikTok and the kind of political commentary on that and on Twitter, that's kind of stopping them from getting into that. So I think SNL not necessarily adapted. It's a difficult thing because SNL shouldn't stop being SNL, but I think there is a way to keep doing what they're doing, but still become a bit more appealing to newer generations for a show's longevity. I know TikTok very well could be banned. That's not going to fix the current generation's attention spans.
Yeah. Can I give you guys a quick other fix that I'd like to see on the show, which is, we've been praising how great the monologues have become over the last couple of seasons with Nordwin and DiCenzo working on them. And I love the fact that we get to know these hosts and all that stuff. But I do feel like one thing we are missing from the show over the last couple of seasons is a get to know the cast members a little bit through the monologues and through the interactions between the cast members and hosts. And we very, very rarely got a cast member in a monologue this season. And even if it was the old-fashioned Q&A or the back and forth or just somebody popping in at some point, I do feel that really helps the audience understand the archetypes of each of the cast members on the show. And that is something that I think is such an easy fix. It's like we don't have to take away what's good about the monologue, but we can add some cherry on top to the things that people are enjoying at the show.
Something in regards to that, you're a numbers man. I don't know if you have this in front of you. How many not first-time hosts were there this season?
How many not first-time hosts? Well, we have...
not first-time hosts, yeah.
Yeah, well, we had... I'll just go through quickly. We obviously had Schumer and Chappelle, Steve and Marty. And then, trying to think after that, Woody would be the next
Woody
one.
and Molly? Are those the only
and Molly,
ones?
Yeah, so 6 out of 18.
So,
yeah.
6 people who weren't first-time hosts.
Or 6 out of 19, right? Because of 2 of
yeah. I'll say 4 of them are stand-ups, so they would never really kind of get involved with the cast. I think that with first-time hosts, they're so much more focused on getting to know the cast member, the hosts themselves, and that might be why we've not been seeing the cast members in monologues, because of this kind of newer thing in recent years of so many first-time hosts. And especially this season, there were 2 not first-time hosts who were also not stand-ups. And I think that could kind of be it. And you also had Woody Harrelson going on some weird rant. Molly Shannon, I think they did cast members in Molly Shannon. Did they do cast members in Molly Shannon's monologue? I can't remember.
They did. That was the one where they actually did have some cast
I
members in there.
think
We had Martin Short also as a cameo there.
Yeah, we probably would have had a lot of cast members in the Pete Davidson monologue. Maybe Kieran Culkin,
but I don't need a lot. I just need like 1 or 2.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Anyways, Lewis, I mean, it's so great to get to talk to you. Thank you for staying up late with us. This was so awesome.
Yeah, it gives me excuse to play more Zelda, so it's okay with me.
Of course. Well, any other thoughts that you want to get out to the listeners before we say goodbye to you tonight?
No, I really hope to see more new stuff. That's kind of what I watch SNL for, not same old. That's what's for. Fun thing, I might be seeing JJ in a few weeks. He's actually coming to Glasgow, so
congratulations.
First ever SNL comedian I've ever seen perform live.
Awesome.
That would be
maybe somewhere, somehow he saw the podcast and saw that there was a fan in Glasgow, so he's there.
I'll be the one. Me and my friend will be the 2 people in the comedy club. It'll be great.
Yeah, well, we're fans of you too, Lewis, so always great to get to talk to you, and looking forward to having you back on sometime soon. Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much. Great seeing you.
Yeah.
Bye, buddy. All right, Haynes, ready to continue?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it. Bring it on one of my favorite people. It is Demi. Demi, what's up?
Hi, John. Hey, Andrew.
Hey.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me. I'm well.
Yeah? Everything going okay?
Yeah. I'm going to F up this intro like classic me.
No, it's so great to have you on. So, Demi, always great to have you in the chat all season long. Would love to know what your thoughts are on season 48 as a whole.
I mean, I liked it. I don't do fantasy SNL the way some fans do on Reddit. But, I mean, there was a lot of new stuff and a lot of old stuff. And, I mean, has no one brought up Keke Palmer and Keenan and Kel reunion? Has no one brought that up yet? Has no one brought that up yet?
Not tonight.
That was definitely a highlight for me. That was such a lovely symmetry of a story being closed, and then they're making Good Burger too. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're making
Good Burger too. I saw Good Burger in the theaters.
Me too.
Awesome,
Twice.
Amazing. Okay, wow. I only got it once, but I believe that Good Burger. I think I've told this story on the podcast before. Good Burger. My dad took my brother and I to see Good Burger, and we didn't go to the movies that much anyway, but it was rare that they would let us get candy because it's so expensive. So he let us get candy that time, and he asked for a recommendation what he should get. And I guess, just the candy we were really into at the time was Starburst. So we recommended Starburst, and he got the Starburst and opened the wrapper, you get your stack of like 10 little squares or whatever, and he's eating them. And it wasn't until after the movie he told us, he was like, I don't get the big deal about these things. They suck. And he had eaten like 7 of them and not the last 3. And it turned out, somehow we discovered in conversation, he did not know you have to take the wax paper off of them. And he's just eating these Starbursts with the paper on. And he's like not getting any flavor out of them and just chewing up this wax paper with this little gummy thing in the middle and just being like, these things suck, and then swallowing them. So that's my Good Burger story, as I remember like just thinking it was just a really great like blooper dad moment.
Yes, that took a turn. But
yeah.
There was
Good Burger 2 coming out sometime soon. I know I think they're filming it now, and I think they got away with filming it now because the script was like completely written and taken care of. And then the PDD movie, that was supposed to be the summer, but that'll be in November now. So interesting on the SNL movie front, what to watch for. But Demi, we are busy answering some questions from our listeners, and I always love to get your take. So can we run a couple by you?
Sure.
Okay. Well, this one comes from our friend D. Crom, who I always love getting questions from D. Crom, says, do you think anybody will leave over the summer? So we talked about what SNL should do, but do you think anybody's going to say, all right, that's it for me, Demi?
Well, John, I think short of a lover's quarrel or personal drama, I think it sounds so bad to say, but like the crowd is like thinned out a little bit. So I think maybe people are more comfortable with the time they're getting and maybe the agency they have over the script writing. So I would say no, just because like I think a lot of them were just gearing up for, finishing out 48 and then getting back to work on 49 because they have like a whole new constellation of cast members. So I would say no, unless there's drama.
Okay. Haynes, what do you think?
I don't think that anyone wants to leave in the summer after a season that's been cut short. I would just imagine that folks don't want to do that. Like if, Colin and Shay were thinking of hanging up, at the weekend update desk. I don't think that. I think they'll be back now. If they had decided they were going to leave, I think that this is the kind of thing that would encourage them to come back. I think that they would do that, and I think that cutting a season short is the motivation why. I would expect that folks would not want to leave this summer. If someone leaves this summer, it's because they got fired.
Okay, I disagree with that notion because if Mikey Day over the summer decides, you know what, I just had a great season, I want to go out on top, he's not fired. He just decided he wanted to go. So I think that
I do think you have some. Listen, Mikey's been on the show a long time, right? So maybe he could do something like that. But my feeling is that nobody wants the end of their final season stolen away from them. And so I would expect everyone to be back. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well, then we have this other question which came in from Nick Store, and Nick says, does every cast member stay on the show if they want to? So I guess that's like a question of like, well, could potentially be somebody be pushed out the door.
Yeah. Lauren could decide he hates someone, and that could happen.
That could happen. Yeah. I don't think it will though. I don't think like Demi, I don't know if I know you've listened to a lot of the podcast this season. Do you share the same opinion as us that at least as far as this rookie class was concerned, like there's no outlier here. It seems like they would want to bring everybody back.
Yeah. They're still forming. Like they finally coalesced and it was like Sarah Sherman was doing breakout stuff and then she was ensemble for a while. So it seemed like there's so much more depth to be plumbed, and it it hasn't been realized yet. So
yeah, for sure. Demi, I don't know if I've ever asked you, who is your favorite cast member of all time?
Oh, Chris Farley.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I know. I think it's Chris Farley. It's just like Chris Farley to me is SNL, and then there's and that's it. Well, or Norm Macdonald, but that's
Yeah.
Well, that's obvious, right? That's everybody. That's not just me.
For sure. By the way, which reminds me in a way of, and I would be remiss not to bring this up tonight, which is we just passed the 25th anniversary of losing Phil Hartman, which was yesterday. And that was, obviously like one of the biggest tragedies ever. Like the fact that there are generations of comedy fans who grow up now never having like heard or watched Phil Hartman because he didn't, make it to now is just such a tragedy. To me, probably the greatest SNL cast member of all time.
Yeah, I think that's a super respectable answer. I can't disagree with you because just everything about him. It's like the way that all ended, even though so long, it just beggars belief. It's like you can't process it because it's like it just doesn't match. I remember. For sure. It's a good call. That's a good call, John.
Hartman was one of those folks who, and I've said this a million times, he never missed. He just did not miss. Like every time you got something from him. And there's other cast members like that, but they often kind of fit like a more narrow lane. And he just had such range. He could really do everything and still like never missed. I mean, that is it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was always Phil.
For sure. No problem. No. This is great to get to hear from you. Honestly, before I went back and watched all seasons of SNL, I had heard the name Phil Hartman, and I remember like there were times where I like look back at his like Wikipedia page and he has that like famous like older photo of like him with the hat if you ever like gone over there. And I always like I heard of this guy, but I never really knew. And just like watching him is like, it's like really having to like see it to believe it. Like it's like going to watch like, old videos on YouTube of like Babe Ruth. It's like what?
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's all true. Like it's all true.
Mm-hmm.
He really is that great. Like he really is that great of a performer, and that because he was the ultimate dad, he was the ultimate ensemble, he was the ultimate standout when he wanted to be. I mean, he was so consistent and yet so versatile, and he was such a gracious like cast member. Like he never stole the spotlight. I'm John, thank you for sharing that. That's such a cool like.
Oh, of course. I mean, like statistically, Phil Hartman put up like numbers that will never be topped. Like he has records that are insane. And a lot of people have always said to me, well, you know what? He was like working in a smaller cast. Well, actually, he was in casts that were like 17 people before. So, and he still put up numbers that are like you would literally have like what Cecily did this year in 5 episodes, like sort of 6, is like even a little bit less than what Phil Hartman was doing when he was a cast member. Like, and he did that for years. So for me, like the longevity and just like the overall impact on the show is unmatched to me. And in an alternate universe, like, everything didn't happen the way that it did, and he was still around. Like, I think he would have hosted the show like a million times. Like,
oh my God. And it would have been great. It would have been great. Like, I mean, I can see Phil Hartman DNA in Will Ferrell, because of his commitment and his deadpan delivery for everything. It's not exactly the same, but I can see that he must have watched a lot of Phil Hartman. I didn't know his metrics were that high though. I just remember he was just always there. Like he was like part of SNL, like
for sure.
Like News Radio. Who remembers News Radio? Like Phil Hartman was great in that. Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course.
thank you.
The best.
Listen, Jingle All the Way and House Guest are both films that get watched regularly with my family. Like Jingle All the Way at the holidays and House Guest like anytime. I sent back when before everything was streaming, like one year I sent DVD copies of House Guest to like all my family members as gifts because we just all had loved it so much at different parts in our lives. Sinbad in that movie with him, amazing as well. If for folks haven't seen House Guest, underrated family comedy.
I haven't seen either, but I know Robert Smigel would always talk about Jingle All the Way when he was doing Arnold on Conan. Like Jingle All the Way, my hit comedy. Jingle All the
It was awesome. Jingle All the Way was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which also Sinbad. Oh, I didn't realize both of these have Phil Hartman and Sinbad. Yeah. Great. We're just really into Hartman and Sinbad in my house.
Yeah, you found that unique cross in the pie chart where you're a fan of both of those guys. All right. Well, I have 2 more questions that came in from our patrons, so I just want to make sure to get to them. And I think this would be a fun one to ask Demi while she's here. So this one came in from our friend Jeremy Boulard, who asks us, what are your favorite podcast moments of season 48? So Demi, I feel like this is a fun question to ask you because I know you're like sometimes in the chat. Was there anything that stood out to you as far as like something you enjoyed on the show with us this year?
Oh my God. I mean, Chris Red thing, that was last season, right?
Yeah, we got to talk to Chris Red between season 47 and 48, but that still counts. That's still pretty good.
No, but like when like you got word he was leaving like mid podcast.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, that was like right in the preseason of 48 where we were like talking about all of the cast members that like Alex, Melissa, and Aristotle that we found out in August. And then I got an email blast as that was happening. That was very crazy. So that's a great
That was crazy.
Yeah, and you handled it like so professionally, like so Walter Cronkite. I was like, well, if John is verifying it, it's true. That's the end of the story. No need to speculate. That's it. You can't get more verified than that. So thank you for that public service, John.
Yeah, I felt like Dana Carvey like recording the tapes, like breaking news: Gerald Ford is dead. Haynes, Haynes, what about you? Any favorite podcast moments from the season for you?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to think back. Listen, I mean, watching my boy Sammy get to fist bump Bobby Moynihan through the Zoom windows. I mean, that was special. You know, I like hearing my friends be loved and get credit. Seeing Mikey Day be so excited about Mike Murray's stats and everything. Like it's really fun to know how much the cast members at least some of them seem to appreciate what we do. That's super cool. I love those kind of moments for sure.
He was obsessed.
He was.
He was. And you guys didn't even get to see the I didn't get to put the full interview in there. I did like my best I could to like get the everything that I thought was good to cut into the interview to the best I could. But like even in the pre-show and then the after show, like when we were stopped recording, he was just like, you got to tell me everything. And I was like, I promise I will. So yeah, it was just, that was really cool. I'd say like personally, that was like definitely a highlight for me. Obviously really getting to enjoy to talk to Mikey and Bobby as well. I mean, Bobby, as big of a fan of Sammy as Bobby, like I love Bobby too. So it was just very cool. So all of the SNL stories we did. Yeah. And you know what? Like, yeah, Aristotle was very great last week. Demi had such kind words about that. So thank you for that as well. And also like, gotta say like all the hot take shows this season, like getting to stay up late and just having like such big, like active chats there was so much fun. Cause like, you know, like after an SNL episode, like I'm watching it, I'm taking notes, I'm like running on fumes a little bit. And just like the energy of the crowd is like something I feed off of. So like just so many great moments from the season. So thanks, Jeremy, for asking that question. Yeah. All right, Demi, anything else you want to say to the listeners while you're with us tonight?
Man, yeah, pay them what they're worth. And like, I mean, don't let AI take over. Like this is, I hope everyone like survives as intact as possible. Cause this sucks. This sucks. I hate this. Like pay them. Like this is, I can't. So that's it.
Totally agree. Well, it's such a pleasure to get to talk to you. I love it when you join the show. So
really John, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Again. Thanks, John.
You did great.
Thanks,
all right, we'll talk soon, Demi.
Okay,
so nice
bye.
to meet you.
All right, Haynes, you having fun tonight?
Yeah, this is awesome. This is great.
Okay, we're gonna bring in our closer. You ready for this? It's my friend Keke Killingsworth who's joining us tonight. Keke, how are you?
Good. Good to be back on the show one last time. Now the season's, officially over when it would be over, and good to see you guys again. And yeah, let's just wrap this up and put a bit of a closer on the season while we can.
For sure. Well, I love having you come on the end of the shows because you always have such interesting intellectual thoughts on everything. So, Keke, it's been 6 weeks, I guess, since the SNL season ended. What are your thoughts overall? Are you just dying without SNL right now?
Well, the thoughts on the season. I'll talk about the last few shows we got in April, since last time I was here, we talked about the Jenna Ortega episode in March, and my main takeaway from the unofficial end of the season that we ended up getting is that we got a lot of like strong. Oops, my ring light's kind of falling down there. Yeah, so we got a lot of strong female hosts to push us over that hump, but a couple of them, it seemed like they were relying on those hosts to carry a little bit weaker material, but the hosts did a great job, and I think Quinta Brunson was the strongest of the bunch. That was so good. Even Andrew Dick and Tim Chicali had to review that one now on That Week in SNL. It's not even a vintage one, but they had to talk about it. They couldn't wait. But that, what stuck out to me was that one just felt the most focused, and it's like she really took charge of the show that week. Even I wasn't as hot on the traffic altercation sketch, but after I did watch the Mikey Day interview you guys did, that it grew on me like I knew it would, it just hit me today, going back over my last few blog posts in preparation for this. The Quinta Brunson episode. What we got there was a more successful version of what they tried to do with the Megan the Stallion episode back in October. A lot of people complained that that was a host that they had to structure the entire show around her and her brand, and it didn't work. It didn't feel like SNL. They were able to do that successfully with Quinta. She gave a real sincere, pointed monologue about just her history in comedy and how she deals with fame as a Black woman and what, education means to her. And she had a message, pay teachers what they're worth. That really resonates now resonates now with a writer's strike. And I too hope we get that resolved soon and the writers get paid what they're worth. And we
Absolutely.
can continue with SNL. And yeah, she had a really pointed and focused monologue that whole episode showed that SNL was starting to go in a new direction and starting to figure itself out near the end of the season. So it had a clear direction of what season 49 would be when they were going. But sadly, the Molly Shannon, Anna D. Armas, those are fine episodes, fine hosts, but they didn't build on that momentum of here's where, aside from maybe Molly Carney's update commentary and aside from some of the new featured player stuff, they didn't build so much on that momentum of here's where the show is headed into season 49 as much as the Quinta Brunson episode did. And
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed we could have gotten that closure of SNL with a clear direction, just getting over the hump of this being a semi-rebuilding year. And we could have seen that with, maybe not if Pete Davidson hosted, but we could have seen some of that if Kieran Culkin hosted. We could have really seen that with Jennifer Coolidge hosting, and I'm sure all three of those people will host in the fall or as soon as they do resume the strike,
hopefully
whenever that ends. Yeah, I'm just I'm a little bit bummed we didn't get that closure of a confident SNL knowing where it's headed into the next season that we could have got with a real season finale. But I'm sure all the newer people especially will get their shot once they we know there's going to be a season 49 and season 50 when the strike's over, and just then newer people will get their shot to make their mark. And I'm really excited to see where that goes.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you for filling us in on all your thoughts on the episode since the last time we spoke to you. So, Casey, we have one more question left from our question list that we got this week, and that comes in from your friend and mine. It's Blood Meridian, and this wouldn't be a patient feedback show if I didn't read a long ass question from our friend Blood. So I'm gonna read it out, and I want to get both yours and Haynes' thoughts on this one. Okay, so. This is from Blood. Blood says, as season 48 was moving ahead during its now known to be last two runs, it felt to me, this is to Blood, that the show leaned even more than before on certain cast members as comfort food for the audience. And besides some of the material in the Quinta episode, the season and by extension the show felt more safe than ever, especially compared to how fascinating and experimental it was, even with the misses during the first few months of its run. What do you think made the show lean into said select cast members and more breaking to go viral attempts instead of what it was trying to do earlier in the season? The presentation of a wide variety of styles of humor and seeing if they succeed or not. So, and then he says, and finally, what are your hopes for 49, especially if there are any potentially departing cast members? Thanks as always for your terrific work and a great run of shows this season, and keep it up. Well, thank you, Blood. So to summarize, I think Blood feels that near the end of the season, they got away from some more experimental things they were doing at the beginning of the season and instead leaned on the same performers over and over again. So Haynes, do you agree with the sentiment? And what do you think about that perspective?
I am always super pro experimentation. I like risk taking, and maybe we did see a little bit more of that at the beginning of the season. I don't know that there was a conscious effort to change the tenor of the show in that way. Kind of going back to, I made a comment earlier about the ebbs and flows of the show. I think, and there's so much that, every week is completely individual, as far as, what sketches get on and who, what actors are highlighted. I don't think that necessarily someone, sat in an office and said, Lauren and Higgins go, all right, we know the writer's strike is going to happen. Let's make sure we have some really solid shows down the stretch, and we'll keep it safe and play defense to make that happen. I don't know that for sure happened. It sounds like Blood Meridian thinks that maybe that was the case. I don't know that was the case, but I'll tell you this. If the Quinta Brunson episode is safe, then give me safe all day. I mean, it was that good, but as far as no, I don't want safety to become a crutch. If that's kind of at the core of what we're really talking about here, then no, I don't want that to be the case at all. I mean, I like the weird stuff. I like the 10-to-1s. I like taking risks. And that is how the show evolves. And to go back to our little, debate earlier, I do believe in the evolution of the show. I just don't want the show. There's a difference between growing and evolving and being like a poser, and then just like one day being like, oh, I'm going to switch and do, try and do something different. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, Casey, let me get your thoughts on what Blood said.
Well, first of all, it's good to hear from Blood again. Me and Blood were growing a bit close, but then Blood had to take a break from social media for their mental health. So I should probably email Blood just to
all the best to Blood. Yeah.
Yes,
of course.
yeah, we're pulling for your Blood. But anyway, I immediately knew what Blood was getting at when Blood mentioned breaking. And I immediately flashed on Lisa from Temecula, because that was a viral moment that had a lot of seemingly manufactured breaking between Ego and Bowen. And I think, like I said, I think the show just is in a place similar to where they were about 10 years ago in 2012, 2013, 2014, where they see themselves as being in this rebuilding year, because a lot of longtime veterans left. 10 years ago was Bill Hader, Jason Sudeikis, Fred Armisen, Seth Meyers. Now it's Kate McKinnon, Pete Davidson, Adie Bryant, Melissa Villaseñor, Chris Redd, Kyle Mooney. See, that's how bloated the cast is. There's like a class of veterans and sub-veterans who were both departing at the same time. So I think they're just and because of that, the show figured they're doing this again like they did 10 years ago too. They're leaning on the next most senior cast and just giving them to the room to become, the veterans that people are gonna grow to love and hate to see leave 10 years from now, because they're just familiar faces. Their humor's more accessible. They speak to SNL having a more diverse audience now. And last time that was this departing cast: Cecily Strong, Kate McKinnon, Adie Bryant. And this time it's just Bowen Yang, Ego Wodum, Chloe Fineman. And those are the comfort food for people who want them, and Keenan, Mikey. The comfort food for people who want, familiar faces. Now the familiar faces they love the most are gone, so they're getting room to be veterans, and they're kind of still figuring out among people like Sarah Sherman and JJ and this year's new hires who they can lean on, who's gonna be the safest to lean on. God knows how many years from now, because let's face it. I mean, JAJ, he could be, comfort food for people who, older people who just look to SNL for like political moral guidance and want to see their takes on people like Trump and Biden and DeSantis, whoever plays them. But Sarah Sherman, I mean, she's only, comfort food to a very niche subset of people, myself included.
Well, I think Sarah
like to
is
challenge themselves and don't want to, have the same diet of everything every day. But go ahead.
Because Casey, I think that Sarah is the one that's probably a good example of this, where they got really experimental with some of the things that Sarah was doing in the first half of the season, and then they got away from that stuff in the second half of the season. But look, I think SNL is the type of show, and they've shown this in spades over the last few decades, which is like when something is going well, they are going to continue to hit that thing into the ground. Right. So it's like when they started bringing out, these outside celebrities to play politicians, well, they're going to keep doing it until it absolutely sucked. And, what happens this season is like, they got experimental, they tried new things, they had fresh cast members come in, and then they sort of were like, okay, well, we feel like what's happening here is we have a good mix of newbies and veterans. Let's just like keep, retreading the same stuff and seeing if this can continue to work. And I think that like more likely you're going to get experimental ideas in the first half of the season because you're more inspired with the new cast members, with people coming in that way. It's more likely to do that. And then I think that people are probably genuinely tired in the second half of the season. So you're more likely to lean on what you think worked in the first half, which is why you're going to get Elisa from Temecula too, which for the record, I don't think it was the worst sketch of the season. Like, I think it was fine, but it was just obviously to them, SNL is like, wow, we have the first character that's been just blowing up in, outside the show for the first time in a long time. Let's just try it all over again. And I think this is just so typical of what we do get from the show a lot, not to say it's a bad thing, but I just don't see it as so different from than the last few seasons.
Yeah, and another thing, speaking of comfort food and familiar faces, the way this season ended so abruptly, I was going into, it's the end of May, I was fully expecting to have seen big blowout goodbyes for Keenan, for Mikey Day, a quieter goodbye possibly for Colin Jost and Michael Che. And the strike makes me wonder about how those departures are going to go down, if they go down. Are my best guess, based on what happened with Cecily, is Lauren is probably going to want to, assuming the strike is resolved in time for like a normal fall premiere, he may want to keep Mike and Keenan, Jost, and Che on till at least Christmas, if not keeping them on just till the end of season 49 or end of season 50, because
I agree.
Now that I think about it, that might be, too drastic of a change for the time period that we're in, and the possibility of what could, is SNL going to last after season 50, or is it going to is it going to die when Lauren retires? So there's other questions, but the strike has me more interested to see how the cast is, like the people expected to leave who are still there, that how's that shakeup going to be handled. So
for sure.
And yeah, that's something I want to see next season, along with just more closure and a new direction, seeing how the newer people establish themselves so they're ready to take over when people like Ego and Bo and Chloe leave.
Absolutely. Well, it was so good to get your thoughts finally on the end of the season, Casey, and what we're going to look forward to next season. So always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, guys. And thank you, John. Thank you, Haynes. And have a great summer. And hopefully we'll see you in season 49 whenever they can get that going.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to having you on during the summer, hopefully for one of our countdown shows, if possible. So always great to get to chat with you. And if you haven't read Casey's blog, make sure to go and do so. It's so fantastic.
Great. Thank you for that plug, and have a great summer, and see you guys soon.
Yeah.
Thanks,
all the best,
Casey.
Buddy. Bye.
See ya.
All right, Haynes, that does it for our patron feedback show with all of the patrons tonight. So you had a fun night? So fun. Loved it. Chatting with everyone. We get to talk with a lot of great, brilliant people on this podcast. But it's, and I love the camaraderie that we've built. And it's nice to welcome, our listeners into that fold and have those kind of exchanges with them. It's awesome. Absolutely. Well, if you would like to become a patron and join us on the podcast, you can do so by going patreon.com/the SNL network. We have a summer countdown series, which we are working on. So last summer, in case you missed it, we did the top 20 SNL characters as of all time. We asked our social media audience to vote on them, and then we counted them down each week with the patrons. We're going to be doing the same thing this summer with the top impressions of all time. So whether political or celebrity pop culture, it's going to be really fun to break down the top impressions of all time. We will have the announcements week by week as to what the results are, and we'll have patrons joining us throughout the summer. So that will be a fun summer series. We also have plenty of other shows planned for the summer, including more Point Counterpoint, more SNL stories, other interviews, some fun superfan takeovers coming up as well. So a lot of things to happen between now and hopefully the start of 49 in the end of September. So I really appreciate all the listeners. As we're wrapping up our last podcast of season 48, I really just want to thank all of the listeners for joining us throughout these 100 and something podcasts getting together all season long. It was so much fun to do that. And especially you, Haynes, and all of the podcasters who join us on a regular basis. Thank you for your contributions to the show.
Of course. Love being here.
Yeah. Well, Haynes, anything you would like to plug tonight?
Oh, nothing to plug. Maybe when there's SNL stuff to talk about, I'll be tweeting at SNL has a cast. But pretty much relaxing this summer, not sweating, worrying about SNL too much right now. I know we're just going to get things taken care of. Everything's going to work out for the writers. Workers of the world unite. Hopefully season 49 not delayed. Fingers crossed for that. And really excited about these countdown shows coming up this summer. I mean, I've already got answers to all the impressions in my head. I already have a top 10 list.
Amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts on those as well. So, if you want to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram to see everything we've got going on. We'll always announce when all of our shows are. Usually we'll be here on Monday nights. That's going to be our summer weekly night that we're here for content. And then, of course, if we end up having an extra show here or there with something, that'll be another night during the week. You can also subscribe to the podcast and turn on notifications on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or Spotify to never miss a show there. Search at the Saturday Night Network on any of those platforms. You can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. I saw we got one today from a listener, so thank you so much for that as well. Those reviews help people find the show, so I really appreciate all of that. And yeah, I'm gonna head out to watch Game 7 of my Miami Heat versus the Celtics. So hopefully things go well for me tonight. And also want to just plug last week with Aristotle Atari too. Just such a fun interview to get to talk to him. So thanks for him joining us as well. Okay, on behalf of Andrew Haynes and all of our patrons joining us tonight, as well as our listeners in the chat, my name is Jon Schneider from the Saturday Night Network. And for the final time in season 48, we will see you next time, everybody. Have a good one.